and litigate and pay litigators over and over and over again. So it's possible with if you got attorneys and wanted to fight it, so to speak, or come to a settlement, you may have been approaching that type of number anyway. So don't you typically settle early just to get out from?
Well, you can if you're. I think if you're trying to be proactive and trying to get ahead of it, yeah. The amount is very high by recent standards when it comes to lawsuits filed after civilians have died during encounters with police. Now, and they're not all the exact same case. That's certainly the case here, but the numbers that, for example, Star Tribune points out are generally the highest. Other number is 2.19 million. Dominic A. Felder, this goes back to 2006. I don't remember much about that case. Although David Smith, 3.075 million, Minneapolis, 2013. I don't know much about that as well. I think I take it as part of between that and, as you said, the decision that was made in St. Anthony, and you can make the argument that the decision on Yanez's future as a cop was as much related to whether he could possibly be a functioning cop in that jurisdiction going forward based on all of what had come before. That could be a big part of why you're saying we're just moving on here. But I think it's fair to say another part of it was you screwed up. Whether it rose to a legal level or not, obviously the jury thought no on the basis of trying to follow the law, but you screwed up. We're out from under this, and we are vulnerable. And if it's a big amount, let's just get it done. And the willingness to accept a number that high. I'm sure they have lawyers that have told them, have recommended to them what should be acceptable. But the number itself also, I think, suggests that something went very much awry in this particular case. So we'll next time we have Joe on, maybe soon, because there's some other stories outside of this one that are worth discussing with Joe, including the Cosby story. Now, we have a hung jury in that case?
Yes.
And has it already been determined that the prosecution is going to refile, or do we know? Has that been determined?
Off the top of my head, I don't remember. I thought I saw, because that happened like the day after Castillo, right? It happened last weekend.
Yes.
I thought I saw they were going to refile, but I can't say for certain that that's what happened.
Well, we can get into that with Joe. There's a number of other stories worthy of time, and so maybe even later this week, we'll try to include Joe Friedberg in the mix. Have you heard about the Jesse versus Fox News confrontation?
I have.
And this involves... I would describe this particular individual as their current shock jock. Jesse Waters, if you've seen him at all, now he's part of that panel show because they got a whole new nighttime list, obviously, or lineup because
Mr. O'Reilly's
the whole thing's coming. O'Reilly's gone and Kelly is gone. And so I think at 7 o'clock, it's your guy, Tucker Carlson. And then at 8 o'clock, they call it the 5. And so it's kind of like a panel deal. And Jesse Waters is now one of the 5. He used to be the resident shock jock for O'Reilly, where he was their version of Meat Sauce Investigates, where Waters would go into the field with a camera and attempt to embarrass people, by asking them either good questions or stupid questions and getting that sort of vacant stare like, oh, I don't know. I don't know how that started. And then he'd be back in studio with O'Reilly, and they'd review for the next 3 minutes, whatever they had talked about. So they're trying to raise his profile because they've lost some of their, speaking of depth, they got depth issues right now at Fox. So they've made a bigger issue, bigger role for him. In this case, and I think he's even got a weekend show too, but in this case, I don't know what show this was on. I just know that I've seen the interview in which Waters was at the Cannabis World Congress and Business Exposition to do all the obvious jokes about goji berries, marijuana, kombucha, who's high here, who's not high here, will marijuana solve it? So he does kind of those mock questions where he pretends to be serious when he's really looking for comedy. That's what Jesse Waters tends to do.
You brought up Meat Sauce Investigates. This would also be a perfect assignment for Meat Sauce. Like you said, I'm surprised we actually didn't send him to this. But go ahead.
It would be perfect. So in this case, they send him to this event, and Jesse is there speaking. And so they ambush Jesse at the end of one of his, speeches or one of his group gatherings, whatever. And it's very cleverly done where, and this is often his approach, he'll ask what appears to be a series of relatively serious questions and on the issue of, legalizing marijuana, etc. And then he goes in for the shock jock moment. In this case, let me see if I can find it. Where is it? Where's the interview? Wait a minute. Hold on a second. I got to get to the water. Waters started with lighthearted questions about Ventura's pet issue, marijuana legalization. Could Donald Trump and other politicians benefit from being high? Get it? Those kind of chuckles you get with Jesse all the time. Things sobered quickly when Waters asked about the lawsuit against Chris Kyle's estates. Out of nowhere, really having nothing to do with anything, he goes in with the Kyle deal, and here's his toss-up question to the body. Were you high when you sued Chris Kyle's widow?
Oh, boy.
Now, as you might expect, Jesse didn't like that very well. There's a pause. And I can't do Jesse's voice. Maybe you can.
Not really.
Was I high? That's a bold question. I expect it from someone from Fox. At which point Waters knows he's got him. Now he's smirking. He's got the smirk down. He's ready to say, this is going to be fun now. I got him off balance. He's bitter. Let's see how far I can carry this. Waters, in Mike Wallace-like fashion, tries to defend the seriousness of his question. Ventura shots back, I never sued the widow. I sued him. Okay, well, she's suffering a lot of pain right now, Waters replies, as if Jesse Waters is seriously concerned.
Very empathetic.
About the pain that Chris Kyle's widow is suffering, which might be the most fraudulent line out of this entire deal. To which Jesse replies, no, she isn't, because insurance pays for it all. She hasn't paid 1 cent. How do I know it? It's my case. Later, he added, the case got overturned because the truth came out. Insurance is paying for all of it. It isn't costing his family a cent. That's the way legal works if you do your homework. Interview ends shortly after Waters asked Ventura whether he would apologize to Kyle's widow, to which the body replied, no, she should apologize to me for the lie her husband told about me. Why would I apologize? I didn't do anything. You only apologize if you've done something wrong, pal. Pal, there's that pal at the end. Then he gives him the look of love, and Jesse Waters walks away saying, got another one. Gotcha. Got another not-so-big fish, but a name.
That's a pretty big fish.
It's still a decently sized fish. Not as big as it used to be because nobody was waiting for his endorsement during the president. Remember that? We had the picture that Kessler painted of a forlorn and lonely Jesse who
with Bernie Sanders,
who wanted to, endorse somebody, and nobody wanted him, including Bernie Sanders, for God's sake. We'll never know if that might have been the difference for Bernie, but that's another story for another day. In any case, I'm on Jesse's side. I've said this before. I'll say it again. I understand that a lot of people don't like Jesse, and Jesse can be his own worst enemy, and I get that, but I think too many people have made their determination on that case, and even how he's handled it since, on the basis of not liking him and thinking, they don't like when he's a governor.
Petty and let the family grieve.
Yes.
Which we've talked about a lot.
We've talked about a lot, and I don't even know if we agree on this, but I continue to say that no matter whether the individual who he claims lied about him and sullied his name is alive or not, I don't have any problem with Jesse Ventura continuing to defend his name. Now, was the amount thrown out? What? The case, I thought, went in Jesse's favor, but then the money part got funny, didn't it? Where he's not, the original amount of money he was supposed to get got reduced, I want to say, by a judge.
That's possible.
That sounds familiar to me. We'll double check it. But given the allegations, I don't have any, you could say it's not the widow's fault that her husband is alleged to have said what he said, and I wouldn't disagree with that. But the notion that he has to give up a case in which there's the book. In the early editions of the book, it was still there, and people read that. And given how serious the accusation was about what Jesse reportedly said, and he's saying I didn't say it, I got no problem with Jesse going forward. And I think, as I mentioned, because it's him and because you're talking about a widow, the assumption is that he is obligated to back off, and I've never agreed with that. I've never agreed with that at all.
Well, it's easy to say it when it's not your name and it's not your word.
Exactly.
It's a lot easier to say.
Yeah, and that part of it doesn't go away. But in any case, the confrontation got, I see it, StarTribune.com picked up a Washington Post story about it. They actually put a headline on it and had like about 3-page story online, at least, of that confrontation, which I happened upon, and I like I said, I'm surprised Jesse didn't hit him. Of course, that's the problem there. That's what he wants. Yep. That's what, then Jesse Waters has what we call in the business a winner on his hand, even beyond what he got, which was plenty. A series of questions where all he's trying to do is be a jackass. That's the job. It's a shock job.
Yep.
Shock jock job that he's attempting to do to elicit a certain answer that's got nothing to do with trying to do any kind of a serious or significant interview. That's the Waters, and he's not alone in that, by the way, but that's the Waters game.
Before we pause for our final break and get ready for the Prism Clinical Research show wrap, would you like Rick Spielman's statement regarding Michael Floyd?
Oh, let's come back with it.
Or would you like to tease it and say Rick Spielman has spoken regarding Michael Floyd and what transpired in Scottsdale today?
I'm looking forward to that. That's next.
This is Barreiro on The Fan. It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap, brought to you by Prism Clinical Research.
Before we get to the wrap, why don't you spill it? The statement you tell me has come from Winter Park, from on high, from Rick Spielman in reaction to the news out of Arizona that our new wide receiver is basically got a slap on the hands for violating terms of his probation, so to speak.
Stop me when there's a word that you don't think was written by Rick Spielman.
Whoa.
Just stop me. Let's see if you can pick up on the word that had me pause.
Who are you saying wrote it? Kevin Warren?
I don't know. Let's just let me hear what you think of the statement.
All right.
When we signed Michael Floyd, we hoped he would show signs of improvement, and we continue to expect that he shows progress and a professional attitude. We believe Michael will be a productive member of the Vikings organization, both on and off the field. Pursuant to the ruling of the Arizona court earlier today, Michael will serve the remainder of his sentence, and we expect him to be with the team at the start of training camp in Mankato when the players report on July 26th.
Well, I'm going to guess you're assuming he's not capable of using the word pursuant.
That is correct.
That's profiling.
It's not profiling.
That's profiling.
That's not profiling.
That's going dumb jock thing.
No, it's not.
A little bit.
It's not dumb jock broadly. I've heard the guy talk for 8 years. I've never heard him say the word pursuant.
He said it. I've heard him 2 or 3 times use that word on the project.
That was due diligence.
Oh, that was due diligence.
That was due diligence.
So basically, we've doubled down on him.
Saying he's on the team, so let's go.
Was apparently our fault that he got in trouble at all because we told him it was okay to drink as much kombucha as he possibly could because everybody else drinks kombucha over there.
Do you think right now employees are on their way out just filling up kombucha on their way home? Maybe get a little Monday happy hour?
Wouldn't he have had to take that kombucha intravenously to get it to that level? In all seriousness, based on what we're hearing from the great kombucha minds who've called in and have emailed us.
But Randy Kay says she specifically doesn't drink it during the day.
Little buzz.
Because she gets a little buzz.
She knew nothing about this story.
She knew nothing about the story.
Yeah.
And hit that out of the park.
That's remarkable.
It affects different people differently, it appears.
Randy Kay joined at 4:30, and indeed, we talked about a story she's written for CNN.com, dog-related, but got into a kombucha discussion because it was timely.
I love
the
how we
beauty of
knew
it,
that she
didn't
was
know.
on top of it.
Well,
we knew that she would be a great kombucha mind.
I think we've got her down
Speaking
to a
of
T pretty
profiling.
much. Yeah, I think we profiled her pretty effectively. AP